Musk is not wrong for once. Oh no, he's totally wrong. He's totally wrong about the big beautiful bill. But he would see it as an abomination because, well, see, it'll be more tax money for the everyday Americans because it would extend Trump's 2017 taxes for people. And then, well, what it hurts is Tesla. It hurts any company involved in solar and electric vehicles, but solar and clean energy, because they currently have been getting credits for being on board with globalism and clean energy and everything electric. So those credits would be disappearing. But it's not just that. Elon has made it a point, right, to say that we need to have regulation around AI, and it took me a while to get to this place because Trump, the reason he's genius is because he can see the picture so big that it's like it takes me a little bit to realize what he's doing. So the thing is that so Elon has been saying AI should be regulated, and most of the public thinks so too. No, but Trump's saying no, I trust you guys. Go ahead, do what you got to do. Which seems crazy, right? But no, it's not. It's genius. It's genius. It is. See, they, even though what tech doesn't want is they don't want to have state regulation and federal, and they want a very weak federal regulation. But Trump has said, no, I won't. We're not going to put any regulation on you. They don't like that. You know why? Because at least some regulation protects them from legal and financial risk. It's the reason the healthcare system has become an ugly beast with the ugly executives at the big major hospitals. Why they've become just it's regulation that's turned our healthcare into a not just a nightmare, but to where no one that should be held accountable is. There were regulations in place when all these unethical experiments took place over the history of science in America. And so if you stop and think about this for a moment, this will be an interesting experiment to watch. Actually, tech will be the experiment we'll be watching, okay? Because Trump is in the big beautiful bill. There won't be Trump saying, no, I'm not even going to put federal regulations on tech. And you may think that's horrible. He can't. No. It's the best thing it's actually the best thing to do for tech too. Because then they have to sink or swim like the rest of us. So if they F up, they will be held responsible. They will be held liable, which in that case means they will more likely think about what they're doing, because when they have no regulation on them, they'll be the ones that will be suffering the consequences if they go too far. If there's regulation on them and they go too far, they're protected by the regulations. It's true. Look at healthcare. That's why healthcare is the beast that it is now. And that beast is in bed with the tech giants and wanting humanoid robot and all this craziness, because there's a reason I call these people juvenile, because they literally have never been made to grow up. So by Trump not regulating them at the federal, and he's going to go as far as to ban the state from regulating AI. And you may think then they're just going to go crazy. Oh no. If they have any smarts at all, they'll sit back and go, wait, no, all these things we wanted to do and we were going to be able to do, but we need to be protected under at least some regulation. But if there's no regulation, then anything they do and somebody gets hurt or damage it causes, well, it's over for them, because it's the very government regulations at the state or federal level that protect these companies to then go. And that's why it's happened in healthcare. It's why the healthcare industry is filled with executives at the top that border on sociopathic behavior, because they've never been forced to have to be responsible for their own actions. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I've said that tech doesn't have self-awareness and self-insight because they're never made to have to stop and think about the decisions they make. And the reason they don't ever have to stop and think about those decisions is because as long as they have some sort of regulation over them, then they can just do whatever they want because they do anyway, and yet then they're never held liable and they never suffer any financial risk or harm to their companies. But you take away all the training wheels. Well, now you got to be able to ride that bike on your own, bud. Can you do it? It means you're going to have to stop and think. You're going to have to really think ahead. Well, should we do this? Shouldn't we do this? We could if we do this, this could happen, and we won't be able to, blame the government for it, because that's what they do. That's why they want regulation. So, and there's nothing in our Constitution that says this is so really, I think that's where Trump's going with everything is, no, everybody's going to have to start being responsible for themselves and their actions. So this may take down, the beast of healthcare and tech. Actually, I think what it will do, it will force these people to actually grow up. That's what I think. Because they've never been made to have to sit back and think about the actions or the harms, the things they do that harm others. Okay, let's take Elon, for instance. Everybody has fallen in love with Elon, yet he's all into that there's going to be more humanoids than actually humans, because he's, given up basically on humanity because he doesn't think we act right. Well, when you have people like him that care more about his humanoid robots than he cares about human beings, well, then, that's somebody that hasn't grown up. There's a reason I call the tech world that they're boys. They're boys because they always have protection over them with regulation. It's literally like riding a bike with training wheels. You don't ever have to worry. You can take your hands and feet off and you're not going to go anywhere. You don't have to worry. You're not going to suffer any consequences. Well, it's time for tech, and it's time for the boys in Silicon Valley to come into maturity like the rest of us have had to do. And how you do that is you put no regulations on them, so then they can't turn around and say it's the government's fault. Now, they'll get a bunch of their George Soros paid people to then say, well, it's Trump's fault, it's the Republicans' fault. They didn't put No, it's their fault. They weren't responsible enough. You can't have it both ways. And as long as there is regulation on them, they will use that regulation not to follow it. They'll still do whatever they want, but they'll hide under the regulation. And it will protect their business, and it will protect them from liability, and then they can do whatever they want. That's how we've gotten to this place with our healthcare system, with our education system, and now that's where they want to go with tech. So tech is the experiment we're all going to watch. And I don't think that most of these people are that stupid. I think they're juvenile. They don't have self-awareness, and this will help them mature and have self-awareness. And then hopefully, Sam Altman, when he himself and others there in Silicon Valley gain self-awareness and self-insight, he'll be able to pass that maturity on to his child. Because if he raises his child will grow up just like him, and he's a juvenile. A juvenile in the thinking, never made to have to actually weigh consequences and think things through. Because as long as you have the training wheels on, you have the regulation there, well, you can screw up all you want. You can do all the unethical experiments you want. And you're always protected, and nobody goes to jail, and nobody's held accountable, and nobody's business fails. Well, now we're going to get to see what happens when, all of these different industries are forced to have to live under the Constitution that wasn't there to protect them from liability. But then those people in government can actually go back to serving we the people. Yeah. It will force all of them to grow up and to stop ruining our country.